Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. In this video, I have got part 2 of my preview for the match between the Blues and the Crusaders that when this video comes out will be happening in a couple hours time. It is 12 hours from kickoff at the moment. That tells you how late it is that I am filming this video, but I am very excited for this matchup and I am going to be running through a few stats for you guys leading into this match. But if you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But yeah, let's get right into this preview part 2. Right, so this matchup between the Blues and the Crusaders, if it's anything like the match that we got to see between the Hurricanes and the Chiefs, we are in for a big treat. That match was played Saturday night, 7:05 kickoff. The Chiefs in that one were able to get the win 35-29. So with that win, the Chiefs are now in 4th place and the Hurricanes are in last, but they did get the bonus point for being within 7. And I feel like this match between the Blues and the Crusaders, I think that one could also be a match that is determined by 7 points or less. I may regret saying that because some people think that it could be a runaway for the Crusaders in this one, but this Blues side, they look like they are hungry to try and get that win, to try and knock the Crusaders out of first place. It's going to be a tough game, but maybe they will be able to do it. So I was looking through a few of the past matches between the Blues and the Crusaders. The one that stands out, of course, is the match in 2014 that the Blues were able to get the win over the Crusaders. The score in that match was 35 to the Blues, 24 to the Crusaders. And tell you what, seeing that game on the All Blacks page, the full match, there were some interesting names on there. I mean, the Blues, they had Benji Marshall on the bench. Not too many people remember at one stage he was a rugby union player. Of course, most people associate him with rugby league, but there were quite a few other changes. Quite a few of the men who are now in the English Premiership were also in the competition, the likes of Luatua. But yeah, there were some very good players in that match. If you haven't already, be sure to check that out on the All Blacks page. It was a good match to watch and it did make me even more hyped for this match. But of course, that was 7 years ago. We need to look a little bit closer to 2021. 2020, these two sides faced off twice. Once in the regular 2020 Super Rugby season. In that match, the Crusaders were able to get the win 25-8. That match was played in February of 2020. And when looking at the stats for this match, you wouldn't think the Crusaders would have been winning it. They had to make 179 tackles compared to the Blues 82. The try for the Blues was scored by Patrick Tuipulotu, the man who is now captain. And then the 3 tries for the Crusaders were scored by Jack Goodhue, George Bridge, who is injured of course for this season, and Richie Mo'unga. Now talking about metres carried for that match, the man who is leading is actually Hoskins Sotutu, the number 8 for the Blues. He had 59 metres carried in that match, closely followed by Mark Talia, who had 55. He is not playing this match because of a head injury that he did sustain in the match up against the Highlanders. And then another man who was on 55 was Sevu Reece, and then just behind was Richie Mo'unga on 49. So those were the metres carried. Now tackles, there is a very impressive number here. Tom Christie in that match up against the Blues made 23 tackles. That was a huge number for him, and unfortunately he is another player who is going to be missing this match for the Crusaders. He is the top tackler in Super Rugby Aotearoa 2021 so far, or he was at least before the last match between the Chiefs and the Hurricanes. He had made 42 tackles in only 3 matches. And that is incredibly impressive. But also something that is impressive is the fact that in the last 2 encounters between the Blues and the Crusaders, Tom Christie has made 35 tackles. So he is a very busy man when it comes to that number 7 role. And I think the Crusaders will be missing him a little bit for this one. Then on 19, it was Cullen Grace. He is back in the number 8 jersey, returning from his rib injury. And Feto Kamokomo Douglas is going to be the man on the bench, the man who was able to get a try in the last match against the Chiefs. He will be wanting to make an impact off that bench. But Cullen Grace, a very good young player, and you know he is going to be putting in 110% into this match up against the Blues. And I feel like that is exactly what the Crusaders are going to have to do. As soon as they step backwards in this match against the Blues, that is when the Blues, their backline, is going to pounce on that opportunity. And in a way, they are going to almost out-Crusaders the Crusaders if they are going to be able to do that, the Blues, because the Crusaders are known for being able to counter very well and turn that into points. And if the Blues can use that same tactic up against the Crusaders, it could be a very close match, and maybe the Blues will be able to get the win in this one. Then the 3rd most tackles for the Crusaders was Braden Ennor with 15. Another man who is missing from this match because of injury. So the Crusaders, from that lineup that they had in February of 2020 has changed a little bit, but the thing there is the players that they have been replacing have been doing just as well. The likes of Lester Whaiananuku on that left wing instead of George Bridge. He at the moment is actually sitting second in terms of the most metres carried, and he will be hoping to catch up with Jonah Nariki, who is in first after this match against the Blues. He will be wanting to make a lot of metres down that left wing side, but he is going to be marked by Bryce Hem, a player that not too many people know too much about. He has come from Europe, Bryce Hem. He has had quite a bit of success over there, but the question is he going to be able to adapt straight into what is Super Rugby Aotearoa with the fast-paced, hard-hitting rugby that we know and love? And these two sides have proven so far throughout the Super Rugby Aotearoa competition that they can really bring it when they need to, and that is why this is going to be such a great match to watch. Now for the Blues for tackles, I should mention in that match that was played in February 2020, TJ Whaiani was the leading tackler for the Blues with 11. He is going to be coming off the bench for the Blues. They have gone with the extra forward on the bench for this match, which means they have only got Finlay Christie in the number 22 jersey and TJ Whaiani in the number 23, so they know that the forwards are going to have to give it 110%, and then they are going to be subbed off with hopefully a player who is willing to give the same and try and keep that intensity. Now in that match as well for the Blues, defenders beaten 33. They had double the defenders beaten compared to the Crusaders, yet they were only able to get 8 points. The Crusaders in that match, their defence was phenomenal and they weren't willing to let them break through. And if they can do that again in this match at Eden Park, 3:35 kickoff, it's going to be a tough day at the office for the Blues, that is for sure. But we have seen that they have got a huge 4-pack going into this match, the Blues. One of the largest I think the Blues have had in a very long time. I believe it is the heaviest in Super Rugby Aotearoa 2021 as well. So if they can get the scrum right, it is going to be two massive 4-packs clashing. And it will be interesting to see who is going to be able to get the better of those scrums, because we have seen so far throughout Super Rugby Aotearoa that if you've got a strong scrum, it can lead to a lot of opportunities for points, whether that is for 3 points or kicking for the corner. The rolling maul has been a key for a lot of these sides. Cody Taylor sitting on 3 tries for the Crusaders. Maybe he will be able to make that 4 and become the leading try scorer. So that was February. Now we are going to move forward a little bit to Super Rugby Aotearoa 2020, round 5. It was the Crusaders versus the Blues. The end score in that match was 26 to the Crusaders, 15 to the Blues, so a bit closer than that last match. And it's pretty much had the old switcheroo, because the Blues in that match had to make 146 tackles to the Crusaders 100, so they were the team that were having to do all of the defending. So they did pretty well to be able to keep the Crusaders to only 26 points, because yeah, when they get on attack, the Crusaders, they can really start to ramp up that scoring rate, and they can throw you into the deep end straight away. And they were able to do that in that match. So during that match, both sides scoring twice. For the Crusaders, it was Will Jordan and Mitch Drummond who were able to score them. For the Blues, it was Mark Talia and Rico Ioane. Once again, Mark Talia not going to be playing this match. He had a solid game against the Crusaders in both of these previous encounters, and they are going to be missing him on that right wing. So hopefully Bryce Hem will be able to have a good performance and be able to fill that gap. Now, meters carried in that last match between the Crusaders and the Blues, it was Richie Mo'unga with 62, and it was also Mark Talia with 62. So very close with those two once again. But one thing that we are seeing as a little bit of a trend is the fact that Richie Mo'unga, he does play some very good rugby in general, but he seems to also play very well against the Blues. Now, something else we should mention for that match for Super Rugby Aotearoa 2020, 6 penalties against the Crusaders, 12 for the Blues, double the penalties. And that is one thing that the Blues are going to have to be able to get right in this match against the Crusaders. Discipline is going to be key, because we have seen in the past that the penalties against a side, it can just keep on adding up. Then if you end up with a man in the bin, that is when the Crusaders can pounce. We saw it in the game against the Hurricanes. Adi Savia getting a yellow card, getting sent off the field. And during that time, the Crusaders in that 10 minutes were able to score 3 times. And that pretty much sealed the game for the Crusaders. So one thing that the Blues need to make sure they get right is that discipline. The Crusaders overall, their discipline overall is normally pretty good in these Super Rugby Aotearoa games. But yeah, last round, 24 penalties in one match, 27 in the other. Now luckily, the first match of round 4, we only had 19 penalties, I believe, in that match between the Chiefs and the Hurricanes. So we will be hoping for a number possibly around there, or maybe a little bit lower for this one. Now, talking about tackles once again, Tom Christie was the top for the Crusaders on 12, tied with Fetu Kamokomo Douglas, who is going to be coming off the bench like I said a little bit earlier on. So it just shows the impact that your loose forwards can have in these matches. That is why Dalton Papali'i missing this match is just a huge shame, because I feel like with him, he would have been able to have a great game against this Crusaders side and possibly make quite a few tackles and also maybe score a try for them in the process. But for the Blues, for their tackles in that match, their forwards were very busy. 14 for Akeri Ioane, 13 for Ofa Tuangafasi, 12 for Dalton Papali'i, 12 for Patrick Tuipulotu, 11 for Josh Goodhue, 11 for Alex Hodgman. The list goes on. And that is one thing that the Blues will have to be careful with if the Crusaders keep on attacking them. Eventually the Crusaders, we've seen in the past, they are brilliant at being able to read your line and finding those gaps to create scoring opportunities. So the Blues, they won't be able to let the Crusaders have 10 phases in a row, because eventually those Crusaders players, they always seem to find a way through. If not, they will end up getting that penalty, turning it into the 3 points, or kicking for the corner, rolling maul. Cody Taylor will be licking his lips in that situation, because he will know that more than likely he will be picking up a try. But yeah, those are all the stats of the last couple of times that the Crusaders have met the Blues. This match has the potential to be one of the best of the competition. I can't wait for it. That is why I am still up at this hour of the night. It is because of the fact that I am just thinking about all of these matchups that we are going to be getting to see, whether that's Sevu Reece and Caleb Clark, Cullen Grace and Hoskins Satutu, Richie Moanga, Teddy Black, you name it. It is going to be a great game of rugby to watch. Hopefully. I don't want to jinx it, but maybe we will have a great game of rugby on our hands. But nonetheless, that is going to be the end of this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I will be doing my watch along live streams like I normally do. 3:35 PM kickoff. Hope to see some of you there. But nonetheless, I will see you all in the next one.